Hey, everybody. Welcome to the True Crime Squad. I'm Kristi Brower, here with my sister, co-host, and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey, Katie.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh, uh, busy true criming and then got some really sad true crime news that affects my family. Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Shitty.
hell. Yeah, back in my much earlier days when my kids were little, I had a home daycare. And then
Mm.
directed daycares, like commercial daycares too. But um, one of my daycare kids from way back then, who was also a cousin of my husband's, her name was Caitlin, and I've known Caitlin since she was a little girl. Watched her grow up, stayed Facebook friends with her all these years, watched her have 6 babies, the last one in July, and
Oh,
unfortunately, Caitlin has been murdered by her husband.
oh, my
And we
God.
just learned this today. She's apparently been fighting for her life for a little bit in an ICU, but she lives in another state, and I didn't know. But learned today that she passed this morning. So I'm just ill.
That is
Yeah,
so awful.
yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Me too. I just can't even believe it. Yeah.
What the fuck, man?
How old was
How
she? Lee, I'm going to say that she was just about 30.
young, with young
Yep,
kids.
yep, yep. Yeah. Yeah, the kids are all young. Yeah. Yeah, she's younger than that, actually. She's probably more like 26, 27. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the kids are all young. Young, young. Yeah. She started super early. Yeah. And had
Dang.
6 real close together.
Hmm.
Yeah, incredibly sad. So, I kind of dropped what I was doing to start researching her case, and then I went, okay, stop. You have to, got to get back to
Focus.
business here. Yes, yeah.
Right.
So I may have more news later. I don't know, to be honest.
I hope so. I hope we
Yeah,
get
me
arrest
too.
news very soon.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah. Well, in other strange news today, we have Lori Vallow news.
Yes.
Guys, you're not going to be surprised by this at all, but her attorneys have asked for a mental health competency evaluation, and that has been granted by the
Yes.
Arizona court.
Yeah.
So her current cases are on hold.
Mhm.
Um, the judge did order a mental health evaluation.
Mhm.
This happened on Monday. Um, they also ordered her attorneys to turn over all of her medical records and criminal history records. And as
Mhm.
we know, those are voluminous.
Mhm.
So apparently, the documents that they have to turn over are police reports, charging documents, the competency screening report, if one exists. Well, Idaho does. And all other available medical, mental health, criminal history records, and collateral records. Oh my God.
Whew.
Well, she's not going to trial till 2026. Uh,
Buckle up, Buttercup. Wow.
yeah. So the judge ordered two qualified mental health experts be appointed to conduct an examination and
Mhm.
complete mental health evaluation reports, as they generally do. They get two opinions on this.
Mhm.
Um, so all hearings in the case, including the trial, have been canceled at this point. There was supposed to be
Yeah.
a status conference this week on Thursday.
Yeah.
I had just noticed it on my calendar a couple days ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she is not in a mental health facility at this point. She is in the jail,
Mhm.
but they're going to evaluate her to see if she needs to go to a hospital.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they listened to that interview that Colby did with her and went, oh no. I have no idea.
Yeah.
She's pretty much just, actively delusional all the time.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
now they're wondering if she's really competent to stand trial.
Well, I'm not surprised by this news. What I am surprised by is that it took this long.
Hmm. Me too. I wondered when Arizona got a hold of her if they might not be like, Oh no.
Wait a minute. Geez, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Yeah, but they
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah. I thought this would be coming sooner than it has. But I
Well,
had the same
time.
question. Was this after the Colby interview that her
Right.
attorneys went, holy shit, she is
Or
truly
did
that
she have a
crazy?
big flare maybe after?
Maybe.
I don't know. Something's up.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
I also have a little show and tell. I'm working on a lot of sets for the holidays for Fidget Whimsy. Um, a lot of new things because I figure that's probably going to be a great holiday resource. So
Yeah.
one of the things I have coming, look at this cute little dragon.
Oh.
She's sparkly, shiny purple and black and white. She's really pretty.
Oh, she's so cute.
And she's going to have a matching egg.
Oh, she's darling.
Isn't she cute? And locally, she's going to be $10. Online, she'll probably be 14. I have to ask a little bit more on online because my shipping is only $5, and so I have to help.
Sure.
The eggs take a little more to ship,
Oh,
so she'll
yeah.
probably be 14 online and 10 locally. But isn't she so pretty?
Mm-hmm. She's adorable.
Yeah,
Yes, I love that Silky. She's really pretty.
yeah, I thought so too. I'm excited. So
Yes.
she and her egg are going to be showing up on Fidget Whimsy shortly. There's a lot of stuff coming to Fidget Whimsy that is like all sitting in my house, not on the website yet. But
Damn
I'm
you,
really
Sarah Boone.
right. I'm really working on getting, yeah, all of my gifty type set things together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have a lot of them for the holidays because I'm really excited about it. I'm gonna sell them locally on Marketplace,
Uh-huh.
and then of course on Fidget Whimsy I will ship them out. So
Very
keep an
good.
eye out for her and her egg. Her egg is like the silky purple and black on top, and it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be white on the bottom. So
Okay.
it will match her. I think it's really pretty. So
Awesome.
anyway,
Okay then.
uh, let's see. Oh, oh, Rosalind says, oh, we're talking about Lori. Okay. Does this mean she accepts that she is batshit crazy, or can her lawyers ask for this? Her lawyers are asking for this. This is
Yeah.
not her asking for this.
I know.
This is her attorneys.
No. We're all that shit crazy except for Lori. She's the
Yeah,
only sane one.
yeah. It's either she's a little off or everyone else is.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I'm going with. Well, Kai, this will be on my Fidget Whimsy website here in the next couple of days. This little dragon and egg will be there. If you're
Mm-hmm.
looking for, says this is a perfect gift for my brother. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Very
well,
cool. Whew.
should we jump into Sarah Boone?
Mm-hmm.
Are y'all feeling a little crazy yourselves after Sarah Boone today? I know I am. I feel like I've been in a tornado of bullshit.
You know what? I'm fighting myself because I feel like such a hypocrite. But then at the same time, I I think a lot of you guys can relate
Hmm.
because it was very hard to watch her on the stand today talking about all of this domestic violence, sharing all of these pictures, sharing all of these stories. Are the stories concocted, contrived? Yeah, probably because she lied a lot. There were a lot of holes. But still, I sit there and think, it has always been my policy to believe the victim. And here Sarah is showing us everything that happened to her, or at least supposedly. And yet I'm still looking at her like she's not the victim. But think that, I think it's just sometimes true that you can be both, you know, the
Absolutely.
victim and the aggressor. And in Sarah's case, that's what's true.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, there is such a thing as mutual domestic violence. And I think that's what we have in
Hmm.
this particular situation. And it makes you feel a little crazy because
Yeah.
I really don't have a lot of empathy for Sarah. Okay, let's get there.
Yeah.
So this morning, there was a lot of back and forth bullshit as
A lot of
usual.
stalling on the part of the
A huge
defense.
amount of
My
stalling.
God.
Yeah. A huge amount of stalling
Hmm.
that really came mostly down to that the defense was trying to put her on the stand and present all of her self defense stuff without first proving an overt act.
Hmm.
And the judge said, you can't.
Yeah.
So finally, after lunch, there was so much battling. stupid shit back and forth.
Well, and
Um,
just completely lack of preparedness on the part of the defense. I
so
mean,
unprepared.
they had to
Needing
have a
more
break.
time.
Yes, well, they needed a break so that they could discuss some things with their client. As soon as they were done with that and ready to put old Sarah on the stand, then they really needed some more time so that they could examine the baseball bat and the suitcase with their client before the jury came in. And finally, and their exhibits weren't labeled. And so finally, the judge is like, well, I guess we're just going to take a lunch so you guys can get your shit together,
And he was
essentially.
pissed.
He was
He's
very
like, the
frustrated.
jury has been waiting for an hour and a half already,
Hmm.
and now you want more time.
Yeah.
So they sent the jurors to lunch so they could do all their dumb shit.
Yes. Then they, while they were doing that, and we weren't privy to this, but people in the courtroom said that the Mr. J, the prosecutor, was helping open the suitcase, and it had some papers in it, the papers that were in it, and he said that the defense asked him for those papers for that evidence, and he just opened the suitcase and just let it all fall on the floor and said, "There's your evidence."
Yeah.
Because he had
They,
enough. Because this morning was really shitty. Yeah.
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 So after lunch, we finally get freaking Sarah on the stand.
Yeah.
And it's not quite narrative testimony, it's guided by her attorney, but
Hmm.
it's a whole lot of bullshit.
Yes.
I don't know how he doesn't think he's risking his license allowing a bunch of that shit to happen because she
Hmm.
lied her face off.
Yeah.
She lied. She contradicted all kinds of shit that she had told the police,
Hmm.
things that she said in the past.
Yeah.
Yes, I've changed headsets. I normally wear an earbud, and I think my earbuds are wearing out. I don't know if I sound any better to you all. I don't know. I'm trying something else. We're trying something because this computer is really pissing me off. Uh, so we get Sarah on the stand, and it is just a really. Amanda says, I thought of you guys the other day. Emily Baker was having a ton of issues with StreamYard and said they were sold, and she's been having issues since.
I'm hearing that from other people too.
Oh, really? Damn
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to switch platforms.
I know. They've been so good.
Maybe we need to.
I wonder. Yeah.
So he gets Sarah on the stand, and there's a bit of an echo and some crackling. Great. But it's not that bad. Okay. Thank you. I don't know. We're doing our best. Maybe we're going to have to kick StreamYard. I don't know.
Yeah.
That sucks. Um, they get her on the stand. He gets her on the stand.
Hmm.
And he just starts asking, and the defense can do this. I know everyone was mad about leading questions, but the defense is
Hmm.
allowed to ask leading questions. It's the prosecution that isn't.
Hmm.
He asked a lot of very leading questions so that she could just go on and on and on and on and on.
Hmm.
And she did a lot of talking about how she directed George to do this and then do that and then do this. And she treated
Oh
him like a
man.
little kid.
A baby. Yeah. And guys, they are soulmates. They are one soul in two bodies, don't you know?
Sarah
Yeah.
made sure that we
Hmm.
knew that.
Yeah.
So it started out with the story of their dumb day.
Hmm.
She says she fucked up a lot. She
Hmm.
said she didn't remember going to Publix to buy the first bottle of wine at noon.
Yeah.
That's not what she said.
Hmm.
Oh, Sarah. Okay, Jess says they can't lead their own witness, but the state didn't object. I think the state was
Yeah.
just trying to let her hang herself,
Hmm.
honestly. But she was so condescending. It's true. She
Oh
would say
yeah.
things like, I took George out on the patio to try to lift his mood.
Hmm. But then at the same time as saying they were having the perfect day, just enjoying each other's company, doing puzzles, doing arts and crafts. But then every once in a while she'd throw in this. Then I decided it was time for he needed a change of scenery, so I wanted him to go back in the house.
And then we do this. But it was
Hmm.
all about her controlling of
George.
George and what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly, like childlike,
Yeah.
right up into the dumb hide
Mm-hmm.
and seek game that wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, right. And did she really treat him like that? I mean, all we know, because
Yeah.
she just talked out her ass for hours, is what she says. Because
Yeah.
don't forget, George is dead. So we can't
Yeah.
ask him if this is how things were in their
Yeah.
relationship, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It did sound like the redirecting of a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
So they do all this, their day is wonderful, blah, 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 blah. And then I don't know, she just tells the dumb story again. Except she, omits the part where she doesn't remember going to Publix,
Right.
even though she's literally on video at Publix
Mm-hmm.
buying wine.
Yeah.
A few things I immediately picked up on. The car is hers.
Yeah.
The house is hers. The money is hers.
And the phone is
Is
hers.
hers. These are not characteristics generally of a
Mm-hmm.
victim of domestic violence. They
Yeah.
normally don't have money, don't own anything,
Mm-hmm.
don't have their own phone. Like, they don't have their own stuff. So
Right.
I worked in domestic violence for a long time right out of college. And Sarah really triggers me because she does not come across like a victim of domestic violence.
No.
And Sarah is the one who held all the resources in their relationship.
Yep.
And Sarah had a ex-husband who lived literally down the street and would help
Mm-hmm.
her at the drop of of in a moment. I don't know what I
Yeah.
was trying to say. Drop of a hat.
Yeah.
So he was estranged from his family. He didn't have his own phone. He didn't have a car. And when he needed to buy something, he had to use Sarah's debit card. Does
Mm-hmm.
that sound like a typical domestic violence relationship to you?
No.
If you were to just look at that from the outside,
Yeah.
George would be the victim, not
Mm-hmm.
Sarah. I'm not saying that Sarah didn't experience abuse. She clearly did.
She did. Yeah. But
But all of her description of all of this really does not show that he was this ogre and she is this meek little victim. It
not at
doesn't
all.
track
No.
like that in the least.
No.
Has any member of his family taken the stand? Yes, his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And he made it pretty clear that he didn't like Sarah at all, and they didn't have
Mm-hmm.
much contact because of Sarah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Brian pays for everything. She's got alimony. He gives her more money
Mm-hmm.
if she needs it. She's apparently not had a job in 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So at that time.
Right.
So
She's just been playing house with George. Yeah.
yeah. So it starts out with them like being besties,
Yeah.
It was all great. It was an excellent day, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly it turns around into being this horrible, abusive relationship in which she's terrified all the time and walking on eggshells, and she's using all the language,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Oh
The
yeah.
language, she knows the language to use
Mm-hmm.
to make it sound like she's experiencing abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Except that she didn't start out that way.
No.
The first half of her testimony was how great their relationship was and how she loved George and she had to help him and she was there for him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But there was nothing really about abuse
No.
till the stupid suitcase story, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So she's
Yeah.
telling the story. She says, first of all, these people have no idea how to play hide and seek. I don't know why they're calling it that. It wasn't a game. This isn't hide and seek. I don't know what the fuck this is. She
Right.
said
They tried to kind of clarify the rules of hide and seek, and this still just didn't sound like
it
hide and
didn't
seek.
help at all.
Yeah.
She said, He tagged her, so she was it. So she went upstairs and hid.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And so then he got in the suitcase, apparently.
Right.
She went upstairs, took a shower, waited for him. He never came back down. So she comes down and he's in the suitcase.
Mhm.
And it's not zipped up. He's just in it,
Mhm.
and he's laughing his drunk ass. And,
Mhm.
she's also very drunk, as we know from listening to the video.
Yes. And from some
So,
quick math the state did in figuring out about what her blood alcohol would have been.
because she was 98 pounds
Mhm.
and he was 103 pounds.
Mhm.
And they drank 2.5 magnums of wine.
Yeah.
Holy shitballs.
Mhm. Can you
That is a
imagine?
lot of wine
Oh my
for
god.
someone that's small.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she says that he's in the suitcase and she zips it up and that she leaves like this much so he can get his hand out, whatever. And that they're laughing and joking and it's funny. And she's like kicking this suitcase, pushing it around. And then
Mhm.
she flips it over like it's some big joke
Yeah.
until she takes that first video.
Yeah.
And then he's, we've all heard it. He's begging
Yeah.
for. Let's listen to it because I think it's important in context. Let's see it again. So this is well, it's a combination of two videos really, but let's just remind ourselves.
For everything you've done to me. For everything you've done to me. Fuck you. Fuck you. Stupid. That's my name. Don't wear it out.
I can't fucking breathe, babe. Seriously.
Yeah, that's when you do when you choke me.
Sarah. 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 Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
That's on you.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
That's on you.
Sarah.
Real ransom. Now you want to give it for it extra. Because I got this.
Sarah.
Real ransom.
Sarah. Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
Oh. That's what I feel like when you ching on me.
Sarah.
Fuck you.
Fucking breathe, Sarah.
Yeah. You should probably shut the fuck up.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she called joking around.
Mhm.
So the first video was at 11:12 p.m.
Yeah.
Second video at 11:23. She says in between the two videos, he got really aggressive and said he was going to kill her when he got out. And he
Mhm.
started reaching out like he was going to try to get her. And she was terrified for her life.
Yeah. Yeah. For
You know,
sure.
and that's when she got the baseball bat
Uh-huh.
and was just poking him with it. Except that he was covered in bruises. Obviously, it wasn't just poking. She was
No.
hitting him with it.
Yeah.
So she says that's when the overt act happened.
Yes.
Is that she knew from past experience that he was really mad. He said he was going to kill her. Except for that part where he's locked in a suitcase and he can't get out.
Yeah.
And she's hitting him with a baseball bat.
Yeah. And she makes 2 videos in which he doesn't threaten her at all. He's begging her for his life.
Yes.
Yeah.
We never see on
Very
video
convenient.
him saying he's going to kill her. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, interestingly, didn't know, this came up in the cross, she took a picture of the suitcase zipped
Yeah.
up at 11:03
Yeah.
p.m. By the way, guys, I know you won't be surprised by this. She doesn't remember that picture.
Nope.
She doesn't remember taking that picture.
Nope.
She remembers the video. She lied to the police and said she didn't remember it either. She says now she did, but she didn't remember that part.
Yeah.
So she says that she was scared. So what did she do? Get in her car and leave? Call the police? No. She goes upstairs.
Yeah.
And at some point calls her ex-husband, who was like, I don't know what she's talking about. She was drunk as hell. She calls him in the middle of the night. I just hung up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
She says
Because
that,
apparently that happens quite a bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
She said that was her calling for help.
Yes.
He was in the suitcase. She could have just picked up her keys,
Mm-hmm.
walked out, locked the door, called the police, said, he's in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid of him. I'm going to my ex-husband's.
Mm-hmm.
No. She was so
Yeah.
scared she went upstairs and went to bed, guys.
Mm-hmm.
That was what her fear did.
Yeah.
So she tells the bullshit story about how she gets up the next morning, real sketchy about what time.
Oh, yeah. That's always been sketchy. Yeah.
Also, she told the police that she didn't even have her phone with her upstairs,
Yeah.
but she obviously did. She
Right.
called
She
the
didn't even
ex-husband.
know where it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I never have my phone on me. It
Mm-hmm.
was locked with a code and her face.
Yeah.
And her fingerprint or something. Like, yeah, she did.
You know, because George the Terrible would look up pornography on her phone, don't you know?
Yes, don't you know? He was also a porn addict as well as
Mm-hmm.
this evil beast. So
She was allowed to completely assassinate his character today. And
She
that
was.
really, really sucked.
I really hope there is some
Redemption here.
rebuttal on that because it
Yeah.
was incredibly unfair. He's dead. He cannot speak for himself.
Yeah.
And Sarah literally made everything his fault. So they stop right there. They send out the jury and they make their case that they have proven overt act.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all like, did
Have
though?
you? Yeah.
And the prosecution gets up and says, well, she admits to zipping him up in the thing. She zipped it. Not him. She zipped it. He was in it unzipped. She zipped it. And then she admits hitting him with the baseball bat. So she's got false imprisonment and she's got assault right there. And the prosecution is like, so obviously it's not self-defense if you hit first. You know, if you cause harm first, then it's not self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I was like,
Yeah, this makes sense.
this makes
Yeah.
sense. The judge says, I'm going to take a 15-minute break. I'll be right back. He comes back and says, they've proven their overt act.
Yeah.
He says, according to the court, if it's even a scintilla of an overt act, then the court must consider it.
Well, it was barely a scintilla. Or even was it?
Fucking not anything. She was at no risk at all. All she had to do was leave that house.
Yeah.
And there was nothing he could do to her.
Mm-hmm.
She was convinced he was going to show up at any time and kill her. That's why she went to bed.
Yeah.
So everyone's stunned.
Yeah.
I am like, what a chicken shit.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's trying to appeal proof the trial, and that is probably why. But my God, I mean, what they have let her get away with here is really, honestly terrifying.
It was awful today. I felt so
It
sorry
was.
for George's family.
Yeah.
To have to sit through that. Because then, as they start rolling out all of this abuse and showing these terrible pictures of injuries, she says that he stabbed her in the leg with a steak knife and tried to let her bleed to death, and all of these things.
And she's
without
telling these
any
huge,
proof at
overblown
all.
stories. Yeah,
Yes.
it's just Sarah's word.
Yeah.
Sarah, who has lied her ass off
About
through this
everything.
entire trial and leading up this whole
Yeah.
time.
And she's just allowed to go on and on and on. And they've got these huge poster boards of these bruises. And some of the injuries were just to body parts. I kept
Yeah.
thinking, how do we even know that's Sarah?
Right.
Like,
And how do we know how those injuries were received? Because Sarah
yeah,
was a slobbering drunk. Not that
yeah.
Sarah describes herself that way, because
No.
it was all about George doing all the drinking. And the only
Mm-hmm.
reason she was drinking is because he made her, don't you know?
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All of these friggin' stories and all of these incidences with no police reports,
Mm-hmm.
no proof outside of her word about anything that happened.
Yeah,
It was disgusting. I have
yeah.
never seen a victim this maligned in a case
Ever,
ever.
ever. Yeah.
So they go on and on about all this shit, and then he's also a porn addict, because that's not
Mm-hmm.
even a thing.
Yes.
Um, and it goes on forever.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, we get to the prosecution, and we're like, all right, kick her ass.
And no.
Her ass was slightly tapped a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he called her out on her lies. He called her out on the not remembering things sketchily, like she remembered some stuff she didn't want to remember, and she was trying to remember what she'd said. You could tell,
Mm-hmm.
because like the whole thing about not remembering they went to Publix, bullshit.
Yeah.
And not remembering having taken that picture at
Yeah.
11:03, but then she did remember taking the
Mm-hmm.
videos, even though she told the police she didn't, and
Mm-hmm.
it went on and on like that, and she just talked in bullshit circles until, frankly, he was so irritated with her,
Yeah.
because
I.
she kept going, "What day? What time? What?" Just,
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know.
yeah,
Just so
constant.
much I don't know is going on. I do think that the prosecution was being careful not to come at her too hard after everything the jury had just seen. You
I
know,
agree. I
they didn't
agree.
want to come across as the monsters who were coming after this woman that was a victim of domestic violence.
Right.
But, ooh, I so wanted a little more.
But she said she always lied at the hospital. She
Mm-hmm.
always lied to the police.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know, Sarah? When are you ever telling the truth?
Yeah.
Um, she did show a cut on her leg, a scar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do we know how she got that scar? She said George stabbed her with a steak knife. But then when they finally had to go to the hospital because she was bleeding so bad, the other thing is every injury was catastrophic, according to
I
her.
almost bled
Did
to
they
death.
appear catastrophic in the pictures? No, they did not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I almost bled to death. I was starting
Mm-hmm.
to like feel woozy and all the shit. So
Mm-hmm.
she said that she told. Now tell me which sounds more real with these drunk idiots.
Mm-hmm.
He stabbed her in the leg with a steak knife, or they were sword fighting with a steak knives, and he accidentally cut her.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she also said, yes, she said she had blue lips by the time they went to the
Yes.
hospital. It was so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
She
Yes.
also said that the loud tumbling down the stairs that the neighbors heard was George shoving her down the stairs, that she fell down the stairs.
Mm-hmm. The night
You know,
before. It
yeah.
didn't happen that night. The neighbors were mistaken. They were
It was the
both
night before.
mistaken. It was the night before. Yes.
And yet she had no injuries
Mm-hmm.
to prove that. She was photographed on
Mm-hmm.
the day that she finally called and let poor George reported poor George's death after she was 100% sure he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely what happened. She showed no
Yeah.
emotional reaction to these pictures of herself. She
Mm-hmm.
showed no reactions that would indicate like PTSD, reliving these things.
Yeah. Even when
Not
she
what
was
you would
talking about how,
expect.
yeah, even when she was talking about how George was the love of her life and they were one soul in two bodies and all of these things, not a
Nothing.
scintilla of tears were shed. Nothing.
No, no, she did not cry.
Mm-mm.
She did not act. She said she was just afraid all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But did she seem afraid? No.
No,
Right?
not
So
at all.
stupid they didn't get her blood alcohol. I agree.
Yeah.
They should have. This was not handled correctly at
No.
the very beginning, for sure. And particularly because the police knew them.
Mm-hmm.
Police knew Sarah and George and knew that they'd had domestic incidents before, and they were both arrested because this was mutual battery.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think we're seeing here is this was a combative alcoholic relationship where these people would get drunk and beat each other up.
Yeah.
And is that some form of domestic violence? Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Does that mean
But
she is the angel and he is the devil? No,
no.
it does not. And
No.
her,
And the
oh, go
fact
ahead.
that I'm kind of skipping ahead, but they there was a conversation after the jury was released for the day about that Sarah really wanted to bring in George's medical records, and her attorneys had made the tactical decision that that would not be happening, and that she had been kind of had to have that explained to her that that was their decision.
The attorneys make this decision, is what
Hmm.
he said.
Yeah, but
Because that would show all the time she battered George.
right,
And it was reported that way at a hospital.
exactly, which tells you that there are medical records of George from the hospital being beat up by Sarah. That's all I meant by that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And Tubbs, I get what you're saying. Tubbs says, well, to be fair, I personally don't show how much emotion recollecting DV incidents. But if you were on trial for murder and recounting this in front of a jury, in front of all of these people, it might be different.
and you were so terrified that you killed your abuser.
Yeah. Yes, the picture did show some stitches.
Hmm.
It was a few.
Yeah.
I don't know. They definitely were victims of their own life choices
Oh yeah.
and of their addiction.
Hmm.
But I cannot get out of my head the fact that Sarah held all of the power.
Yeah.
She had the house, she had the car, she had the money, she had the phone, she had the ex-husband 2 blocks away or whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
She could have left a situation at any moment if she
I,
felt unsafe.
absolutely. Also, she could have thrown George out at any time
She could have.
and probably could have gotten a restraining order and moved on with her life. But she
Yeah.
was choosing this. She
She
was
was
keeping
choosing
him
this.
there.
And she wasn't like your typical victim who doesn't have anything,
Hmm.
and so they have to stay. She didn't need that at all. George was
No.
the one who had to stay. He didn't
Yeah.
have anything.
Hmm.
Do we think they wanted to muddy the waters as much as possible? Yes, because you
Oh yeah.
know that those jurors are feeling the same way.
Yeah.
Like, I want to
Hmm.
I want to believe victims.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've seen the video. She
Right.
killed George.
Yeah.
She left him to die.
Hmm.
She could have left and called 911 and said, he's locked in a suitcase. He was trying to hurt me. I'm out.
She didn't have to leave. She could have sat on the couch and called 911. He wasn't
could
going
have.
anywhere.
He could not get out.
No. No.
It was
And it's
wild.
wild how she couldn't remember going to Publix. She couldn't remember taking that picture. She obviously didn't remember making the videos either until the police showed them to her. But
But now
somehow
she
she
says she
remembers. Yeah. But somehow she does remember that in the in-between of making those videos that he was threatening her life. Okay, Jan, that sounds right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
doesn't track.
It was awful.
It was awful. And the
Today was awful.
prosecutor, I mean, the prosecutor got the suitcase out and made her
Oh.
try to zip it up, and then her defense attorney kept helping her, which I'm like, why are you allowing that?
Right? Why
But
didn't
it
they tell
turned
him
out
to sit down?
yeah, but it turned out it took all three of them to zip up that suitcase. I
Mm-hmm.
think the prosecutor was trying to show that, yeah, there was really hard to zip, and there was no fucking way George was getting out of that.
Yeah. Well, I felt like he did prove that. The fact that her lawyer ran over there and is manhandling that and bent clear over it, and
Got all in the middle of it. I was like, this is cross. What are you doing?
yeah, I was really surprised that he wasn't told that he needed to go back to his table.
Yeah. Yeah, and she still struggled with, they all struggled with it.
Yeah.
It was a big dumb thing. But I
Hmm.
don't know. I was disappointed in the prosecution. I think they had a lot more, but they still do have a lot more because now
Right.
she's given them a ton for rebuttal. And what
Right.
they're going to do is they're going to bring the cops in those videos and say, "Hey, remember how Sarah said this, and this? Well, look
Hmm.
what she said to the police. Do you think
Hmm.
Sarah ever tells the fucking truth? Because she doesn't."
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of that.
Yeah.
They're bringing in some cops. the
Hmm.
the defense is going to try to rebut cops. There was this big thing about how the lead detective was pregnant
Yes.
at the time, and I don't know. It's one of those things that the defense does where they try to show that the cops were unfair to them, which
Yes.
has nothing to do with the case. She was Mirandized. They followed their
She
rules.
was Mirandized
But
twice.
yeah,
Yeah.
but they're trying to, you know, make it look like this person's got a raw deal. And they
Hmm.
tried to make it like Sarah just thought she was coming in to pick up her phone.
Hmm.
And the police didn't tell her she was being arrested.
Hmm.
And the defense attorney asked her that. And she was like, why would we tell her she's being arrested?
Yeah.
She'd probably run. We don't tell people they're being
Right.
arrested, and we don't have to tell people they're being
Right.
arrested. There was a lot of that this morning. There
Hmm.
was some
But yeah, asking her some
cross.
questions repeatedly, trying to make her trip up, and then verifying with her that you were pregnant, right? At that time, you were pregnant. So what? Trying to indicate she had pregnancy brain going on, or
Well, it was something about that Sarah says that she told her, you'll have to come down and get the phone from the office because I'm pregnant and I can't really be out, you know, that
hmm,
kind of stuff. Right. Lied to her to
hmm,
get her to come in. And the cop was like,
yeah,
yeah, we're allowed to lie to people.
right. She's like, yeah, that's what we did,
It
indeed.
is entirely true.
And yes, we did know we were going to arrest her by the time we were done with her that
Right.
day. Yeah.
And did Sarah know that she could have an attorney with her? Yes, she was
Hmm.
Mirandized 2 times in which
Hmm.
she was told she could have an attorney present. Did she
Yeah.
bring one? No.
No.
That was her choice.
Right.
Yeah, so there was just a lot of that was
Yeah.
also submuddying of the waters, and they're going to bring in some of those officers now and try to make a thing out of it. I don't think
Hmm.
it's going to go anywhere.
Hmm.
The comment about her pregnancy instantly brought my hackles up, and I think any
Hmm.
woman on that jury probably felt the same way.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell does that have to do with anything?
Hmm. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul, I had the same thought. Paul says when they opened the suitcase in court, why didn't they ask her to get in? See, I really
Oh
wanted them
my
to
God, I wanted her to really
show
bad.
us exactly how George was in the suitcase,
Yeah.
please.
Because they did a lot of that, her explaining how his body was in the suitcase. Because
Hmm.
remember, the only reason we know he was in the suitcase is because Sarah told us he was and videoed it. Because
Hmm.
she had pulled him out of the suitcase before the authorities came.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the hard part that I think we have to remember and that the prosecution really needs to stress.
Hmm.
There is so much about this case
Yeah.
that we only know because Sarah said it, and Sarah lies her ass off. And so we don't really know
Hmm.
everything that happened that night or
Yeah.
why it happened. But yes, the detective wanted her at the station
Yeah.
because they're going to arrest her. In the meantime, they've downloaded her phone, and guess what they found?
Hmm.
That video that is very incriminating.
Hmm.
And yes, Sarah has gained quite a lot of weight while, incarcerated, as
Yeah.
she said.
And not being a wild alcoholic. Yeah.
Yeah, she's actually eating food. I don't
Hmm.
think they ate much.
Mm-mm.
They were both so tiny and
Yeah.
little, and probably all known alcoholics that get like that they really
Hmm.
all they do is drink and they don't really eat.
Yeah.
They were so little.
Yeah. Tiny, tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It was a wild day. It was a
Yeah.
disappointing day. It was an unexpected day.
It's a tough to take day. Yeah.
I think she's a horrible person even more now than I did
Hmm.
before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he bought wine and died in a suitcase. That's what he did.
Yeah.
We know that for sure.
Right. Yeah.
And somebody hit him a lot with a baseball bat.
That
'Cause
wasn't
his poor
Sarah.
Sarah talked about how he used to use that bat to threaten her all the time.
Then why
Okay,
was it just propped
she
against the
bought
wall
that
in the living
bat.
room?
Right.
Yeah.
She bought that bat for her son.
Mm-hmm.
Why was it in the living? Like there was so much stuff that you're like,
Mm-hmm.
really? You provided the bat, and
Yeah.
it's your kids. Why didn't you send it home with him to his dad's house if it was
Mm-hmm.
used as a weapon? I don't believe it was used as a weapon until that night. It was
Yeah.
just propped up in the living room. All she had to do was get rid of the friggin' bat or
Mm-hmm.
send it home with her kid. But she
Right.
didn't. Sarah did
No.
not behave like a victim at
No,
all.
she didn't. Yeah.
Poked, yeah. She just poked him with the bat a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he was covered in
Mm-hmm.
bruises, and many of them were deep. Why
Yeah.
didn't he bite his way out, right?
Yeah.
Poor guy. Can you imagine? Remember, 28 inches tall, 20
Yeah.
inches wide, 9 inches deep.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how restricted, like even getting a couple of fingers out, how hard that was?
Mm-hmm. Also, if he was the big bad batterer that she claims that he is, why would he ever trust her enough to climb into a suitcase and let her zip it up?
Yeah,
That's
just
not the
doesn't
kind of guy
track.
that needs the power and control.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me at all. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that's right, Jess. Brian said in one of the interviews that Sarah requested Brian buy it so their son could play with George at her house.
Yeah.
Sound like a terrible, horrible abuser to you? But she was free to say whatever she wanted about George today.
Yeah. And boy, she did. Yeah.
And she did. And it didn't come off as genuine. None of this made Sarah more likable or more
No.
easier to understand at all.
No.
It was just hideous, all of it. And you
Mm-hmm.
could just see they were both really fucked up.
Yeah.
And they just made each other worse.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm very curious to see. So the defense says they will be done by Friday, maybe sooner, if they can get their expert witnesses all here. Sounds like there are two doctors, two psychiatrists or psychologists that are coming to testify, and they have two police officers that they're going to put on the stand. So we know that. So they'll be bringing in Dr. Julie Harper. She's been meeting with Sarah apparently for months. And then also Dr. Michael Brannon. So those will be the doctors that come. And again, some police on the stand tomorrow and recalling the detective to try to impeach some testimony. And then we'll see.
And then we'll see rebuttal. And
Hmm.
we'll see what the state decides to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if they just feel like they come back to the fact that the day that he died, he was not the aggressor. That all of this other
Yeah.
stuff is not what this trial is about. I'm assuming
Right.
there's going to be some of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't really, they don't want people to remember how small George was.
Right.
He and Sarah were almost exactly the same size.
Hmm.
She was 98 pounds, he was 103. She was
Hmm.
5'2", he was 5'2" also, or
Hmm.
something like that.
They
I
were
mean,
literally practically exactly the same
yeah,
size. Yeah.
yeah. So we will see what happens
Hmm.
tomorrow. I don't know. I would call it a very unsatisfying day
Yeah. Unsettling
today.
day. Yeah.
And unsettling. Yes, very.
Hmm.
So with that, Katie, what happened in Delphi today?
Whew. Another pretty unsettling day. Uh, Let me get to my notes. Takes a minute to pivot after after so much Sarah Boone.
Right.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Just trying to get my notes in order here. All right. So in Delphi today, they start with. No, I want a different note. Hold on. I think I managed to close one of my articles.
Oh,
Okay.
uh-oh.
All right. I'm getting there. All right. So they start this morning And it's interesting because some of the reporters that I've been following, they're not all getting in every day.
Oh, really?
And people are starting to line up now, like deep in the night, to try to
Oh,
get in the next day. Um, Locals are mad because people from all over the country have showed up to come and go to this trial, and the locals aren't able to get in. I remember feeling that way.
yeah.
But some of the reporters that I'm following didn't haven't made it in every day, so it's kind of interesting because they're not all able to provide their notes every day because they don't have them. But so court started about 9, and they started with. All right, sorry. All right, so they have Brian O'Leahy back on the stand. He's an Indiana State Trooper to continue his testimony. So they brought in a physical piece of physical evidence in a paper bag. It was a size 10 black Nike shoe found in the creek that belonged to Libby. They had other physical pieces of evidence, a tie-dyed shirt, a gray hooded sweatshirt, and a pair of Converse shoes. They had what they called a Smith& Wesson cartridge. Something kind of interesting with the bullet is they've called it several different brands now, which apparently this is I believe it's a 9mm, and several different companies make that. But I think it's weird that they've referred to it as different makers.
Hmm.
Anyway, the hair from Abby's fingers, strands of fiber, and various DNA swabs from the girls' bodies. We did learn today that while someone earlier in this trial said that they did not do sexual assault kits, now they're saying that yes, they did.
Thank God.
They asked the wrong person last time, apparently, or they were unaware of one being done.
Okay. I'm really glad to hear that. Let me just say to Kristi right now and everybody
Yeah.
else, Super Chat is not on because remember we got demonetized.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on what we're going to do about that. But in the meantime, the way to tip us, and I know you guys like to tip us when we're doing trial coverage because it's a lot of friggin' work. You do that, go to truecrimesquad.com, and you can do buy me a coffee there. We've got PayPal there and Venmo there.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all ways to tip us. So thank you for asking that.
Yeah. So after that, then they had a conversation about the clothes. Were they wet or were they not wet? Apparently, yes, the clothes were still wet at the time of the autopsy. So Abby's clothes were absolutely soaked.
Yeah.
Uh,
Had also been in the creek, maybe? I don't know. What the hell is...
maybe. Then wrestled onto her body. One of the jurors asked if the ground beneath the girls was disturbed, as if Abby was dressed there, and they said no, it wasn't. So
And maybe there was an attempt at circumventing forensics, and they put them in the creek and then pulled them back out or something.
no idea. So on cross, Rozzy was on cross, and he asked if any of the DNA on any of those exhibits were connected to Richard Allen, and O'Leahy said he's not aware that any of the DNA did connect to Richard Allen. So they did take DNA swabs from quite a few things, but none of that connects to Richard Allen.
Because what does?
Yeah. But then there was an objection to that statement that was sustained. Goal is doing what she does in this trial. She's continually neutering the defense and allowing the prosecution to say and do whatever they want. So, not a big surprise. They had a tense back and forth about the public taking photos at the crime scene that made them, ask a little bit about crime scene integrity. But when O'Leahy was asked about the sticks and that they appeared to be placed there by an individual to conceal them, is what he said. He said the sticks weren't tested because he wasn't aware of any effort. Oh, the sticks weren't tested because they were dirty, and he wasn't aware of any effort to take shoe impressions. And there was no effort to lift fingerprints at the scene because there were no good surfaces. Wouldn't the phone have been a good surface?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that last night. Of all of the places that you could get fingerprints, wouldn't it have been the phone?
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and touch DNA,
yeah, but they didn't do any of that.
bodies.
Yeah,
Like, come on, man. Right, they can do trace on rocks. It doesn't matter if it was dirty or not. It doesn't
yeah,
mean that they can't get stuff from that. They
yeah.
can.
This was just sloppy. It was sloppy.
Yeah.
So he
Very.
asked O'Leahy about blood found on a tree at the scene, and then asked if there was anything usual or unusual to find an unspent bullet in a wooded area in Indiana. O'Leahy said it's not uncommon to find a bullet anywhere in Indiana. Oh, bullshit. It's weird to find a bullet anywhere. Give me a break.
But
And I
like
live in
down in the
Idaho.
dirt, like down in the dirt where a hunter is reloaded and stepped on it, or I can see
Yeah.
that that might be a thing.
Maybe if
But
it was a bullet that went in a shotgun, but
well,
this was a
that's true, and this
handgun.
wasn't. This was a
No.
handgun. It's true.
Uh, Rozzy referenced the photo of the unspent bullet to the scene, in which O'Leahy said he had not not seen more than 6 photos of the bullet and admitted that they were not pictures of where the bullet was after it was removed. The bullet was collected in its pure form, he said, pure form, and that only 5 or 6 photos of the bullet turned out. Sure, Jan, sure. So
Turned
after
out
him, yeah, they
you
weren't good pictures. They were blurry or something.
you didn't have a digital camera in 2017.
Right. So then they bring in Indiana State Police Lieutenant Brian Bunner. He's a state forensic examiner who has worked there since 2009. So he talks about the process of cell phone data extraction. He says the report for Libby's phone was several hundred pages long. He
Wow.
went through the camera roll and found the bridge video. He mentioned the camera roll was the user's last user activity. He said the video was 35 seconds, was taken between 2 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. on February 13th. They hear the video in court. In the video, Libby and Abby can be heard talking and conversing on the bridge. And then they let him do the thing that the defense had tried to block, which was interpret what he thinks he's hearing on the video.
Yeah.
So according to him, he hears the girls say, "See, the trail ends here. There's no path, so we have to go down there." He also took several screenshots of the video and sent it to detectives to get it to them right away. In the prosecutor, the prosecutor asks in the pictures if he can see a man behind Abby, and he says no in the initial photo. And then in the following photos, can you? As it turns out, the video that we've seen was highly manipulated, blown up, and Bridge Guy was well behind the girls. Well behind the girls.
Ah.
And that's why when you see that picture, of him that is so blurry that's just an outline of a man,
Yeah.
that's because he was a long ways behind them.
So he maybe wasn't connected to this at all.
Yeah.
Did they hear a part of the video where the man spoke? Or a man spoke?
Yeah, kind of. There's a lot of different reports coming out, so I'm going to tell you about a few things. So they show the audio and video of the girls with Bridge Guy, or maybe with Bridge Guy. God, I'm real confused now, about
Hmm.
what was real there.
Right.
So they bring in a man named Jerry Chapman. He's also he's worked for the Indiana State Police and in civilian roles about enhancing audio to make the sound better and eliminate background noise. So he talks about what he did with the recording And he's the one who says, see here, that's where you can hear down the hill. The people who listened to it in the courtroom today, by and large, said they never heard a man's voice at all.
Wow.
Just the girls. So he says, in his opinion, and now the defense is objecting to this hotly because they filed this, we don't know if Goal has actually ruled on their filing or if she just hasn't, but she allowed this today. So he says his opinion is the man says down the hill.
That's been everyone's opinion for 7 years.
Because that's what we were told.
Right?
Yeah. So the girls are talking, and Libby says, see, this is the path. There's no path there, so we have to go down there. And then they say, that then if you, listen to the blown up audio, you can hear him say down the hill. So the video in its raw form, most people in the courtroom said they didn't hear that at all. And that's what the defense didn't want the blown up video to be shown because they feel like that's prejudicial, but it was shown.
Of course.
So then
they can't use the composites, but the prosecution can use the video that the composites came from?
Yeah.
Give me a break.
So then they bring in a girl named Rayleigh Voorhees. On the day the girls went missing, she was 16. She was also on the trail the girls had walked. She says she walked past a man on the trail. She said hi to him and he did not reply. After the girls were reported missing, she felt like maybe that was the guy. So she contacted authorities and they showed a photo of Bridge Guy with her from the Libby's recording, and she said yes, that was the man that she passed. She described Bridge Guy and then later said that she thinks the photo of Bridge Guy maybe affected her memory of him as she described him to jurors. Then we have Brianne Weber. She was 16. She was also on the Monon High Bridge that day. And she made a post on Snapchat when she was on the bridge. She said it wasn't uncommon for people to go to the Monon Trail with friends, but never alone. She said Libby messaged her on Snapchat while she was on the trail. And then later she heard that Abby and Libby were missing. So she said later she saw an image that the police had shared from Libby's cell phone, which Bridge Guy. She said when she saw the image, the first thing she thought was that she saw that person on the trail. So then they bring in Betsy Blair, who said that she frequently walked this bridge and that she was there that day. She wore a Fitbit to help her recall how many loops she did on the trail. She said on her third and final loop, she saw a man and later 2 girls. And then she, after, all this went down, then she called the sheriff's office and said that she saw him on the trail, the man that they're calling Bridge Guy. So she said that it looked like his posture and the way he was standing. She also said she could have mistaken the man having a hat on his head for brown, poofy hair.
I remember the conversation about someone with either a hat or poofy hair.
So that was today, but there's a couple other things I want to share from people from the courtroom. So, again, a lot of people from the courtroom are saying they did not hear down the hill at all, and were confused about that. They also said that in the video, the girls did not seem to be scared and not intentionally recording a man way off in the distance.
Okay.
They were playful and casually conversational, taking a quick vid of Abby on the bridge. They say, you hear Abby say something like, there's no path, trail ends here, we can go down there. You never see Bridge Guy in the video that they could see. And zero mention of anything that sounds like gun. Somebody had said that the girls said gun. She said you don't hear that in the video at all. or at any rate, what people in the courtroom were saying. They didn't hear that from the video. Also, Riley Voorhees. Here's what she described Bridge Guy to be, or the guy she saw. Early 20s or 30s, bigger build, large man, Caucasian, big brown eyes, square jaw, wrinkly face, wearing black jeans, black hoodie, black boots, and a black mask. Dirty blonde curly hair that was visible outside of the hoodie. She says that she's 5'7", and the man she saw was taller than her. She thought he was around 5'10".
How big is Keegan Kline?
That's a really good question. Though the
'Cause
dirty
he's
blonde
kind of a big
hair,
dude, isn't
he
he?
is a big dude, but the dirty blonde hair doesn't match him.
Might have at the
So
time, though.
on redirect, she was asked if she ever gave a statement to the police estimating someone's height or weight. She said, no, I was certain that was the man I saw. I can say with confidence the person in the picture is the person I saw, meaning the picture from Libby's phone. That seemed pretty interesting to me because Richard Allen is 5'4".
Yeah. He's not a big guy.
No. No.
He's also mostly bald.
Yes, he doesn't have a big poofy head of hair, and two of them talked about him having a big poofy head of curly hair. That's not Richard Allen. Yeah.
Wow.
So there were those things. And then one last thing I just wanted to share from Bob Moda in the courtroom. Bob had not tweeted a lot today because he was getting ready to do his own live, which is awesome and you should definitely go watch. But one thing that he did say, let me get back to that note. Oh, hell. It's not a note. Hold on. Essentially what he said was that of all three people in the room who saw who they believed to be the perp, not one of them identified Richard Allen.
Yeah. Because it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess I can't have that note. Okay, fine. But anyway, that's what Bob Moda said. He said that he, not one of the witnesses in the room could identify Richard Allen as the person they saw on the bridge.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So that's what I've got. That's to the best of my knowledge what happened today. But again, Bob Moda was in the room today, so I would definitely go and watch his live tonight too to get more information from what he had to say.
For sure.
And that's where it's at.
Well, I keep trying to show a picture of freaking Keegan Kline, and this computer's being a jerk to me, you guys. My computer's being a jerk to me, and it won't let me bring it up.
Anyway, said Klein's mom has a purple PT Cruiser. Interesting.
Well, and Kline is a big dude. He doesn't have poofy hair, but he could have, you know those hats that look like they're poofy hair on top?
Yeah.
It could be something like that. I don't know.
It could
it's just
be.
a thought. Certainly doesn't sound like Richard Allen at all.
No, it doesn't sound like Richard Allen. That's what it definitely does not sound like is Richard Allen.
Yeah, not in the least.
Yeah.
Wowza. Okay, well, let's talk about Leilani Simon.
Yeah.
So, in Leilani Simon, the prosecution is still presenting their case. And most of today was about searchers who found his body. There were some yesterday, there were more today. Obviously, it was really grueling. They searched for 31 days, and they were all volunteers.
Yeah.
And they searched 1.2 million pounds of garbage.
Oh, dear God. That is so dangerous, too.
It is so dangerous. Can you imagine what they were exposed to?
Yeah.
Um, they heard from Sophia Zerke, who is a Chatham County police officer. She is who found a piece of his skull, and that's what led them to be able to find more bones. Is because they, uh, kind of searched in that same area. They talked about the challenges, how terrible it smelled, and what an absolutely horrific experience it was searching through all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, then prosecutors brought the text messages in, and we've heard that this was coming between Leilani Simon and her drug dealer, outlining her affair with him. This was Craig Red Weston. He took the stand with full immunity, and there were no cameras. Everything was barred from broadcasting while he was in the courtroom. His testimony wasn't all that interesting. He was only on the stand for about 10 minutes. He doesn't really know anything, but he did confirm the affair. I don't know that it really is relevant, and that's pretty much what today was a lot of the searchers finding his body and kind of how that all occurred. So, I still, where is the evidence that Quinn Simon was murdered?
Yeah.
And that Leilani Simon did it?
Right.
All they have is her driving by a dumpster that they think she put the body in. They don't have any proof she did.
Yep.
And they do not have a cause of death on this baby. I am not, unless she's just convicted fully on emotion on the part of the jury, we're still not seeing actual evidence of the crime. And trust me, I'm not saying Simon's innocent.
No. But they don't have much to go on.
They don't have much. And Leilani is an incredibly volatile person.
Oh, boy.
And every story she tells she's like Sarah, only worse. She's all of the testimony and all of the videos they've had of her interrogations, like she never tells the same damn story twice. And I don't know. Are we ever going to know what really happened to Quentin Simon? I don't know.
I don't think
so. And are they going to convict Leilani Simon? I haven't seen anything yet that would tell a jury that for sure that baby was murdered.
Right.
And that Leilani did it.
Right.
We have an assumption that she dumped his body, but they don't even have that. They don't even have that proof. So the Simon case is rough.
They at least thought that she put him in a dumpster, and they did find him in a landfill. So there is that connection.
There's that connection, but they can't even
sauce too.
prove she put him in that dumpster.
No.
That dumpster goes to that landfill. We know that.
Yeah.
But so do a jillion other dumpsters. So she made some slip-ups, but none of them are actual evidence of a murder.
No. It's just further proof that she's gross as hell and a terrible mother and an icky human and a very ill person.
Very much so. But beyond that, if they convict her because she's a terrible person, okay, but that's kind of scary because you need actual evidence.
Yeah.
And they don't have it.
No. No, they don't. Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah, we know. Keegan Kline is in prison, I think in Texas. Found guilty of child essay material, got 45 years.
Yeah.
But, whatever happened with the concerns about him and other
just
people
kind of vanished.
And
the landowner, they all just
the
kind of
landowner
vanished.
Who's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they latched on to Richard Allen, all of that went away.
Yeah.
Why?
Yep.
We don't know.
No. Well, At the end of the day, per always, let's remember who these cases are about.
Yeah.
We are talking about George Torres. We're talking about Abby and Libby. And we're
And we're
talking about
talking about
Quentin
Quentin
Simon.
Simon. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And we got to remember that. Somebody asked about another case. There's no way we can track another trial right now. It's about killing us to track these three at the same time. It's the Ferris trial. It's an interesting
Oh, it's
case,
an interesting case. Yeah.
but I just don't have.
The
Right, the
bandwidth.
landowner guy in Delphi, right? His girlfriend said that he was involved.
Hmm.
But guys, that doesn't give these prosecutors somebody to punish.
No.
And that's what Richard Allen
No.
is at this
And
point.
and so far into this trial, besides that bullet that is such a weak junk science
That
argument
killed no one.
that killed no one, they don't have a single thing so far that they have turned out that links Richard Allen to this crime. Not a single thing.
Nope.
Yep.
It would be amazing if this jury hung.
Yep.
Or exonerated.
Yep. I'm not holding my breath. I think we'll get a guilty on all counts.
I'm afraid. I mean, there's so much pressure in this community
Hmm.
that it's definitely going to color that trial. But
And
then
I
it's
hope
going to
I'm
be
wrong.
appealed into infinity over
This
all this
is,
bullshit.
oh yeah, this is one of those states where the jurors can ask questions, and the jurors have asked quite a few questions. So
It's
that's
good.
good. I feel like there's a lot of thinking going on, a lot of critical thinking going on, so that's good.
Good.
But I noticed somebody commented on one of our videos, why do these guys think Richard Allen is not guilty?
Do you know anything about this case? Oh my God.
No, that's what's happening is a lot of Johnny come latelys are coming to
Yeah.
this case that don't know this enormous backstory of bullshit that has happened over the last couple of years, and they're just seeing the you know gotcha headlines from mainstream media who also are Johnny come latelys to this case, and yeah, of course they think he's guilty because they haven't seen all of the procedural stuff that's happened the last 2 years, or
Right.
the arrest affidavit, or the
No.
Frank's motion, all of these things that are the
Yeah.
things that have put so much doubt in all of us. And
Yeah.
if you think Richard Allen's guilty, that's fine. You can think that. Like we can all have differing opinions.
Right.
But
But I mean, at least have a basis for that that is not
yeah.
just the prosecutor says it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's what we've got. We will be back at 7 a.m. Mountain,
Hmm.
9 a.m. Eastern with
Yeah.
the streaming the Sarah Boone trial. To tomorrow morning, we should see some crazy bullshit tomorrow, I'm sure. And we will stay up on Simon and Delphi and just keep
Yep.
on trucking.
Yep. We will bring it all to you. Yep.
Yeah. Of course, go to truecrimesquad.com. There's lots of ways to support us there. Our Patreon is there.
Hmm.
Our little Buy Me a Coffee subscription is there if you want to do um, the watch party with us. There's lots of ways there to tip us. Our stores are there.
Hmm.
We appreciate your support a lot because we put a huge amount of time into these trials. It takes our time away from other things that we do. So whatever you can do, great. If you can't and you just
That's
want to
fine
come here
too.
and say thank you and hit like, that's wonderful too.
We
We
love you
appreciate
all.
all of
Yep.
you. So with that, you know it. We are the True Crime Squad.
Take care.
Thanks for being here.